I'm so glad and so proud to be here at ASOTU CON. He's right. I mean, one of the things that I love about this organization, about More Than Cars, is that it really is about more than cars. It's about people. It's about passion. It's about purpose. And I have to thank ASOTU because they were one of the first ones to give me a microphone, give me a stage, and give me an opportunity to speak to others. A lot of the other conferences, you have to have an application, you have to have experience. One of the first things they ask you is, have you ever done this before? Have you ever been on a stage? Have you ever done a keynote? And I say, no. And then they say, well, you need experience. And I'm like, well, how are you going to give me the experience if I never get the time to start? So that's not what they did. They gave me a microphone one day in a room. I had no idea what to talk about. They said, come up on here on stage. We're going to bring you here. And that was the beginning. When I think about what it means to be a dealer and what it means to be a leader, a lot of people think these words are synonymous. Everybody in here who's a leader would say, yeah, I'm a leader. And if you're a dealer, you're going to say, yeah, I'm a dealer. And the two are almost the same, but are they? You take one letter, that D and that L, and you swap them, and it looks like you get the same word, but they really mean two different things. You see, dealers move in transactions. Leaders move in transformation. And we need more transformational leaderships in this organization. I think about the definition of a dealer. What would you guys say? If I asked you what a dealer is, what would you say? Help me out a little bit. What would you say a dealer is? What is it? What's a deal? Do we have dealers in this room? You guys awake? What are you guys partying last night? What is it to mean to be a dealer? Sell cars, right? You buy and sell cars, right? It's transactional. What does it mean to be a dealer? But if you ask somebody outside of automotive, outside of this room, if you just went through those doors and said, what is a dealer, you might get a very different answer. Hey, that's a dealer. You're in a casino. They're moving in cash. They're moving in cards and chips. Hey, that's a dealer, right? A dealer who's moving in commodities. A dealer who's moving in currency up in Wall Street. And my favorite, Tony Montana, right? He's a dealer too. We're not going to talk about what he deals in, but he's a dealer. Even when I lie, I tell the truth. Y'all know that. Dealers know that. But the truth of the matter is, a dealer is a person or company that buys and sells goods. So let's think about this. What is a leader? A leader is someone who takes direction, who goes first, and who takes others with them. I think about these two definitions together, and I'm thinking about dealers develop processes, right? They move products for profit. And leaders do something very similar, but they do it a little bit differently. See, leaders, they're all about potential. They recognize what's not there. They see vision and clarity where other people don't. And instead of moving products, they're moving people. And they're not doing it for profit. They're doing it for a purpose. What the dealer says is, what's the value? What a leader says is, what's the vision? I started as a general manager almost 2 years ago, and it was really hard to have vision. You know, I had never been in the position before. The store that I had acquired at the time didn't have a general manager. They ran without a general manager for 6 months. The store was broken, service was broken, parts was broken. And here I am raising my hand that I wanted this opportunity and I had no idea what I was getting into. This is my daughter, Akira. She's in Minnesota where I now live. And this is a photo that she took out on the lake. And I think a lot of my experience as a new GM felt like this. I just looked out and all I saw should have been opportunity, but what I felt was extremely overwhelmed. I didn't see a path. I didn't see an opportunity. All I saw was problems on problems on problems, and I was just looking for someone to give me some guidance. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have to be the leader. I'm going to have to be the first. I'm going to have to blaze that trail. The definition of a leader, when you're thinking about it, is about what are you going to leave behind? What is your legacy? See, bad leaders leave a mess. And I've done this before. I've been a bad leader. What happens is you make it all about you. And when you leave an organization, you leave a mess behind because you got all the passwords. You know all the secrets. You keep everything to yourself. And by retaining all that information, no one else in your team, no one else in your company can grow. And then you leave with pride because you say, yeah, they're going to miss me when I'm gone. And they probably do. But eventually you will have gotten forgotten because you never left anything behind of value. It was all about you and never about your team. Good leaders leave a mark. What does it mean to leave a mark? Maybe you leave a hole. Maybe you leave a gap. And that feels good, right? People miss you. You were the linchpin. Maybe there's a blueprint of what that should have looked like when you leave something behind. But eventually, marks disappear. They start to fade. What great leaders do is they leave a map. This is what I talked about when I talked about driving in the snow. I'll never forget, it was a Minnesota day, and they talked about a snowstorm coming, and I'm getting in my car, and I'm following the path of other cars in front of me, and I'm scared to death, and I'm white-knuckling it, and I'm doing like this, and my car is skidding around, and I'm from Georgia. We don't have snow. So this is new for me, and I'm sitting here in the snow, and I'm trying to follow the path, and when you're on the road, you can't really see where you're going. You're just trying to follow the tracks in front of you. And then all of a sudden, that car kind of got off and went off the exit, and then I look ahead, and all I see is white snow. And I have nowhere to go, and I'm like, am I still in my lane? Should I just pull over? What do I do? And I realized that in that moment, I couldn't depend on anyone else's tracks. I was going to have to blaze my own. Great leaders leave a map so that others, when they're following, don't have to be out there on their own. One of my mentors said, Erikka, at some point as a general manager, you're going to have to stop running around your business and start running the business. In the beginning, you're so full of things that you got to fix and KPIs and metrics and am I up to NCM data and what are people going to think and can I make a profitability and how do I grow my people and parts and service and sales and marketing and advertising and all this stuff is happening and you don't know what to do and people are selling you stuff and should I buy this? Should I spend money here? What do I do? And then you realize that there's no one to ask. I'm the decision maker. Andrew Walser takes his general managers out to breakfast. Every 3 months, it's a great conversation. You sit down one-on-one, and he asks you a question. He said to me, Erikka, you have to transition from working in the business to working on the business. He said, I come into your store and you're desking deals with your managers and you're running out trying to get a trade appraisal. He's like, you're calling all the customers, doing the CSI calls yourself. He said, but listen, you can't be a high-paid sales manager. You have a team now of people who are dependent on you to teach them the things that you're good at, right? We're proud of ourselves because, yeah, we're the best closer and, hey, I'm great on trade appraisals. But at some point, no matter what industry we're in, we have to teach our team to be like we are if we're going to lead them. Otherwise, we are a crutch. We are a bottleneck in the process. We are not helping it free flow. What we're doing is we're stopping it because they say, oh, my GM wants to look at every trade. Oh, wait, hold on. Nothing goes to policy without her signature. Oh, well, heat cases, we don't deal with them. She takes every heat case. But what ends up happening is that you can't do anything to accelerate the growth of your team or your department when all you do is spend time fixing and managing fires. Dealerships know about firefighting. That's what we do. We spend time professionally fighting fires all day. But when you become a leader, what you do is fire prevention. You're stopping the fires from even coming. You're understanding what the business needs, and you're recognizing smoke and flames and embers before they start. And then at some point, you realize that you're going to have to run your store and stop running around it. When you stop running your store and you start running around it, you realize that you have an opportunity to teach others what you do. It was our very first snow day. And again, I'm not from Minnesota. So snow days mean that whenever you get more than 2 inches of snow, you have to go outside and actually broom them yourselves. Now, this is new to me. You're talking about 250 new cars, 200 used cars, and when it snows, which in Minnesota it snows pretty much from October through March or April, 6 months out the year, you're going out there with your broom and you're brooming those cars off. You're plowing in between, and you move every single car up off the lot and then put every single one of them back so you can plow. Now, the very first snow day, my team comes to me and say, hey, we're going to get snow tomorrow. What do we need to do? And I said, well, what do we normally do? They said, well, it's a snow day. You know, we got to move every car. We got to plow. I mean, you're going to be out there with us. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be out there. Now, I had no idea how to plan. I had no idea what to do. And when I tell you it was a disaster, right? You're supposed to plan ahead for this. You're supposed to get the keys. You're supposed to make sure that you get the tags off of the cars the night before so you know what you're looking for. And what I realized then is that I had a team of people who were looking for me to give them direction. And the one thing that I had forgotten to do was actually ask them, well, what would you do? I'm not the expert in this. And as a leader, there are times when we have to realize that we're not the expert, that we don't know. And it's okay to depend on our team and ask them for help. In fact, you're empowering them by asking them to do that. Mike Fector, one of my mentors, asks me all the time when I have hard situations, I call him and I say, Mike, I got this situation. I don't know what to do. This happened. I've never had this experience before. I don't know what to do. And he asked me one question. Well, what are you going to do about it? I said, if I knew, I wouldn't be calling you. He said, no, but you have a gut feeling. There's something that you already know you want to do. You're just asking me for my permission to give you permission to do what you already have in your mind. And I'm like, well, yeah, I think you're right. That is what I want to do. He said, so what do you want to do? And I explained the situation. I said, well, I want to do this, and I probably have to spend some money to fix this. And he says, well, then do it. I said, well, what if it's the wrong decision? What if I mess up? What if something happens? I've never been in this situation before. He said, that's okay. That's what this is about, Erikka. This is about the experiences. You have to learn. You are now in this position. You can't fill in my shoes. You have to do it your way. What I will tell you is I will have your back. Make the wrong decision. Do something different than I would do. I will have your back. Your people want to know that you're going to have their back. Your people are going to want to know that they can be in the safety of making a decision and be vulnerable, and you will look back to them not to criticize them, not to tell them they did it wrong, but to say, it's okay. You learned. How do you think they get the experience? How do you think they get to your shoes? If you handle every heat case for them, then they will never have the experience to handle it themselves. So let them make those mistakes. Ask them, what would you do? Empower them to make decisions. As Patrick said, give the front desk receptionist empowerment. Give the lot runners empowerment. Give everybody on your team, no matter what part of the industry you're in, the power, the opportunity, the space, and the respect to make a decision, even if it's not the right decision, and for you to know you'll have their back. You can't go far until you build the path. This goes back to driving in the snow, right? When you're first driving in the snow and you're following that path, you can't go fast. You have to go slow. You have to be deliberate. And as I was building my team as a general manager, I had to remind myself that I'm not going to get it all right. That I'm looking at the 20 groups that I'm in, and I'm seeing their numbers, and I'm seeing my numbers, and I'm seeing the red on my statement, and I'm seeing the black on their statement, and I'm trying to figure out, am I in the right spot? Am I even able to do this? And I realized that it's going to take time. Anything that you're building and it's worth having is going to take time. So you hold tight. You believe that foundation starts before you have growth. You set the stage. You build your team of people who want to follow you. And then you hold them accountable to the activities. You set a standard. People want to be held accountable. I saw this great quote on TikTok. It said, accountability is not what you do to someone. It's what you do for someone. That stood out to me. That stood out to me. That's what we do with our children, right? We hold them accountable because it's something we do for them. Your team wants your feedback. They want you as a leader to give them feedback on what they can expect. I tell people, if you want to work for me, I have to give you 3 things that are important to me. These are the only 3 things that I need for you to work for me, and it's called being on par. I want leaders who are on par. First is performance. Second, it's attitude. And third, it's reliability. You can't have 2 out of 3. You can't perform and have a good attitude, but you're not reliable. You don't show up to the meetings. You're always late. You call out. You can't have a great attitude. You're extremely reliable. You're there every day. Everybody likes you. You're good for the culture, but you don't perform. You see, there's no world in where 2 out of 3 of those options make sense. This is what your team needs back. They want to know that the standard that you set is going to be good for everyone. Because the moment you start letting people operate below the standard, everyone looks at you and says, that's not a leader. They let them get away with it. They're late. They don't get 15 cars a month. Their F&I numbers don't make sense. They don't have to follow the rules, so why should I? You cannot motivate people to a higher performance. You hold a standard, you set the bar, and you continue to raise the bar. You do not go where the path may lead. You have to go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. That's what I hope to do. That's what I hope to build, is a trail that others can come behind me, a trail that I've been able to follow before, a trail that allows us to have an opportunity to build leaders foundationally in this organization that will change the very face of the car business. Right? This is about being more than cars. This is about people being the new currency. That's a conversation I had with ASOTU. I was at an event, and I sat down with them, and I said, hey, what's the most important thing? And I said, it's people. That is your biggest asset. It's not profits, it's people. And then if you want to give people an opportunity, if you want to create leaders within an organization, you have to start growing them now. The only way we are going to change the car business is to change the people that we bring in, is to bring in fresh leaders with fresh ideas and understand that they may not have experience. They may not have been able to do that. They may not have ever even liked cars. They may be like me, a single mom who 20 years ago came into a car dealership to get my car fixed, and that's how I fell in love with the car business. I had no aspirations at the time to be a general manager. I had no aspirations to do anything more than make $2 more an hour than where I was working at the time, which is as a daycare teacher. But someone gave me an opportunity. Someone gave me a chance. Someone said you didn't have to have experience. You don't have to know about cars. And because of that, it is now about more than cars. I now get to stand on this stage in front of a very important person, someone that I admire and respect more than anyone, someone who when I'm standing up here right now, gives me butterflies in my stomach because I am more nervous to speak in front of this person than I am my dealer principal or any person I have ever worked with. Because I respect this person, because I love this person, because I'm very proud of this person, because for 18 years I've watched this person grow and develop, and I'm watching him become a leader that I am proud of, a leader I hope this industry also gets to accept one day. And I brought him here to this conference today because I wanted him to know that the business that I love so much, that the business I've given 20 years for, that the business I've sacrificed end of the months for, and many holidays and many weekends and every Saturday for 20 years is about more than just cars. It's about more than just transactions. It's about people who love and care about an industry to help people do one of the biggest decisions they make in their lives. And all of you support that. And so it is with great honor that I'd like to bring up someone who's extremely important to me. And I can do this at ASOTU because you can break rules at ASOTU. You can just do what you kind of want as long as you stay within the rules. So if you guys would please give a warm round of applause to my 18-year-old son who just had a birthday on Monday, Aaron Dungy, who is in the audience. This is his first time seeing me on stage. This is his first time coming. Normally he's in school. Normally it doesn't make sense. And so I have never been able to have him come to an event with me. And of course, for this being my very first keynote, it was such an honor to be able to bring him. And on his birthday week, he graduates in 2 weeks. And he was also chosen to be the presenter of his commencement speech for his senior class. So I am very proud of the leader he has become. I am very proud of this industry and more than cars. I am very proud of ASOTU for giving me an opportunity so many years ago. Kyle asking me to be on his show, Michael asking me to be on his podcast, Paul having my back from the beginning, and I thank all of you for listening to me today. We are more than cars. Thank you.